Today, I am going to reveal what no man understands, yet it controls his entire life. Why a woman decides to sleep with one man and reject another without mercy. The answer has nothing to do with luck, destiny, or appearance. It comes from four hidden forces that Machiavelli understood 500 years ago. In the darkest corners of human desire lie motives most people never dare to see. Machiavelli wrote that human behavior is never what it seems, and that behind every decision, even the intimate ones, there are invisible forces that govern the will. But today, we will uncover those forces, not to manipulate, but to understand. Because the man who understands dominates, and the man who dominates never again begs for a woman's attention. If there is one truth Machiavelli understood better than anyone, it is this. Human beings are not drawn to appearance, but to the invisible strength that radiates from those who hold power. And when we talk about female desire, this law becomes even more intense. A man may believe that a woman notices his face, his body, his style, but the reality is far more raw, far more strategic, far more human. The kind of power that seduces is not superficial, not the power of someone who shouts orders, not the artificial authority some men try to display. It is silent power, unshakable power, that firm presence you feel without introductions, without explanations, without effort. Machiavelli called this the perception of strength. Not physical strength that any ordinary man can build in a gym, but inner strength. The kind that cannot be bought, cannot be invented, cannot be imitated, because it reveals itself in every gesture, every look, every well-timed silence. A woman, even if she never says it, senses a man's emotional hierarchy before she even hears his voice. She feels it in the way he moves, in the way he occupies space, in the calmness with which he handles attention. She does not need words to recognize a man who governs himself. And when a woman detects that kind of inner dominance, something deep inside her activates. It is not magic, it is not superficial biology, it is the ancient response to emotional leadership. But the man who holds real power is not the one who brags about his status, but the one who does not need to. He is the man who could talk about himself all day, but chooses not to. The man who could seek approval, but finds it irrelevant. The man who could need female attention, but is so full of purpose that attention does not control his mind. That kind of authentic independence creates a magnetism that cannot be faked. When a woman looks at a man with real power, she is not admiring a handsome face. She is observing an internal structure. She sees self-control. She sees direction. She sees an organized mind capable of supporting itself even in the middle of chaos. And in that instant, she feels drawn to something she cannot explain and cannot ignore. Because according to Machiavelli, true power is not what a man has. It is what a man projects effortlessly, and that projection is what awakens feminine attention, not superficial appearance. She knows instinctively that a man who dominates himself is a man capable of dominating any situation. And that ability in its purest form is deeply seductive. The most interesting part is that real power does not depend on money, fame, or social status. A man can have everything materially and still look weak if his inner world is broken. And a man with no money, no recognition, no external influence can look like a king if his emotional posture is strong. A woman does not respond to the title. She responds to the temperament. That is why a woman is naturally drawn to a man who speaks with intention, moves with calmness, listens without anxiety, responds without haste, and looks without begging. A man who does not chase the world because he knows he can pull it toward him. This kind of man projects a sense of direction, purpose, and conviction, and that conviction is stronger than any physical trait. Machiavelli understood that human beings instinctively side with the one who seems most capable of facing reality without breaking. Women are no exception. In fact, they are even more sensitive to it. A woman cannot feel secure with a man who depends on her validation. A woman feels safe with a man who is already validated by himself, not because he is arrogant, but because he is stable. That stability is the first ingredient of desire because it removes the uncertainty of emotional chaos. A woman can admire a man's beauty. She can laugh with him. She can even feel affection, but she cannot feel deep desire if she senses internal weakness. Because emotional weakness creates instability, and instability destroys attraction. But when she stands in front of a man who does not tremble in silence, who does not panic when attention is absent, who does not obsess over controlling what cannot be controlled, her mind begins to build a narrative. This man knows who he is, and that narrative opens the door to physical desire in a silent, gradual, and inevitable way. The fascinating part is that the woman herself is not always aware of what is happening. She may say she likes a man because of his voice, his style, or his attitude. But what truly affects her is the atmosphere he creates without saying it. An atmosphere where he is the center of his own world. And when a man is the center of his world, he can become the center of hers. That is real power. The power that surpasses beauty. The power that turns a man's presence into an experience. The power that awakens feminine desire even before a conversation exists. The power that is not imposed. It is felt. And once she senses that power, she begins to look for something more. Machiavelli said that human beings do not move because of love or passion or the words they repeat, but because of the need to feel protected in an uncertain world. And although modern society hides this truth behind romantic speeches, the truth remains. A woman will never give herself to a man who does not inspire security. It is not a whim. It is a biological, emotional, and strategic response. Security is the key that opens doors. Beauty cannot touch, money cannot guarantee, and charm can never force. When a woman observes a man, she analyzes him with silent precision. She is not looking for perfect looks or exaggerated status. She looks for something deeper, stability. She looks for signs that this man does not collapse under pressure, that he does not explode when frustration appears, that he does not guide his life from fear. Masculine security is not the strength of the body, it is the strength of the mind. It is not the absence of emotion, it is the ability to remain standing while others break. A secure man is not the one who claims to be secure, he is the one who does not need to prove it. And, for a woman, that is an irresistible signal. She does not want a man who depends on her validation, who loses control just because she takes a while to reply, who confuses interest with obsession or desire with desperation. A man like that does not attract her. He unsettles her. Where there is anxiety, she senses risk. Where there is insecurity, she feels danger. And where there is emotional danger, there is immediate physical rejection. But a secure man is different. He stays centered. He does not chase anyone. He carries a silent composure that transmits stability to anyone who watches him. He speaks when necessary. He stays silent when he should. And he is unaffected by the opinions of people who add nothing to his life. That security can be seen, felt, and breathed around him. A woman experiences something rare, calm, and when a woman feels calm, her body begins to trust. Machiavelli would explain it simply. Human beings move toward what does not threaten them. An unstable man is a storm. A secure man is a shelter. And a shelter is always more desired than a storm. Emotional stability is what allows a woman to lower her defenses, relax, and let desire flow without fear of being hurt. It is not about being perfect. It is about being steady. Security also means direction. A man who knows what he wants, who does not improvise his life, who has clear goals, solid habits, and decisions of his own, creates deep attraction. A woman interprets that direction as maturity, as structure, as natural leadership. She does not need to ask him anything. His behavior reveals whether he has a path or whether he is just floating without purpose. An intimacy never grows on uncertain ground, but there is a type of security even more powerful than financial, emotional, or social security. Internal security, the one that comes from a man who knows himself, who understands both his strengths and flaws, who does not compare himself to others, who does not need female attention to feel worthy. That man does not beg for love, does not compete for approval, does not fall apart when criticized, and does not get distracted when a woman tests him. A man like that is dangerous to the world and extremely attractive to a woman. She does not want a man who seeks her validation. She wants a man who is already validated by himself. She wants that masculine calm that cannot be bought and cannot be faked. A calm born from self-control, discipline, mental clarity, and emotional independence. Because a man who can support himself can support others, and psychologically that is irresistible. Security creates desire because it allows a woman to feel free within intimacy. It gives her space to express herself, to relax, to trust fully. And when a woman trusts, her desire grows naturally. There is no manipulation, there are no games. It simply happens because masculine security is a silent invitation to physical connection. And the stronger a man is on the inside, the easier it is for her to give herself without fear. Even in the most modern relationships, this Machiavellian principle still rules in secret. A woman watches how you handle conflict, how you respond to criticism, how you behave when something does not go your way. She watches whether you get angry quickly, whether you play the victim, whether you become aggressive, whether you lose your center. Every reaction reveals whether she can trust you or whether she needs to protect herself. And if she needs to protect herself, there will be no desire, no surrender, no intimacy. That is why a man who builds security does not need to chase. He becomes a magnet, a silent magnet that attracts precisely because he does not chase, does not beg, and does not need. And that energy makes her see him as solid, stable, trustworthy, a man capable of leading, deciding, and staying calm, even under pressure. That masculine presence opens the door to a deeper level of attraction, a level where emotional connection naturally becomes physical connection. Because when a woman feels safe, she stops thinking. And when she stops thinking, she starts feeling. And when she starts feeling, desire rises without control. All of this happens long before she says a word, long before the man even notices it consciously, and it is exactly this internal state of calm that connects to the next force Machiavelli understood better than anyone: mystery. Because when a man projects security, he inevitably becomes harder to read, more enigmatic, more profound. Security creates the foundation, but mystery is what lights the spark that follows. Mystery is not a trick, not an act, not a character you pretend to play. It's a quality that appears when a man understands something most people never grasp. What is predictable becomes tiring. What is obvious becomes boring. What is endlessly available loses its value. And for Machiavelli, anything that loses value becomes invisible to human desire. A woman will never say openly, "I need mystery," because mystery by definition operates in the shadows. It is not named, it is felt. It appears when she senses there are doors inside you she cannot open easily, thoughts she cannot decode, intentions that are not revealed with a single look. Mystery is the art of showing enough to attract, but not so much that you satisfy entirely. And that balance is one of the most powerful forces behind female desire. Since ancient times, Machiavelli understood that people only desire what they cannot control, what is forbidden, what is inaccessible, what seems just out of reach. And this psychological principle applies directly to relationships. A man who gives everything from the start, who exposes his emotions without filter, who shows anxiety to be accepted, creates the illusion that there is nothing left to discover. With him, there is no adventure, no danger, no intensity. But when a woman feels she has not completely figured you out, something in her mind lights up. Curiosity, a primitive impulse that pushes her to want to know more, and that desire to know more is the beginning of attraction. But mystery is not silence. It is intention. It is not hiding from the world. It is choosing with precision what you reveal and what you do not. For example, a mysterious man does not explain every detail of his life. He does not justify his decisions. He does not rush to share every emotion. But when he speaks, when he acts, when he takes a stance, he gives the impression that his inner world is deep, complex, and not open to just anyone. A woman feels that to truly know him, she will need time, patience, and above all, merit. The thought of I have to earn access to his inner world creates a powerful emotional investment. Machiavelli said that whoever controls perception controls the outcome. And this is where mystery becomes a tool of power. Not because you manipulate, but because you dominate your presence. Mystery generates tension, and tension generates attraction. It is the tiny doubt that follows her after seeing you. What is he thinking? Why did he say it that way? What is he hiding behind that strange calm? That uncertainty captivates her far more than any compliment or impulsive declaration. Mystery also exists in your strategic silence, not ignoring her, but refusing to respond from impulsive emotion. It is responding when you actually have something to say, not when she expects you to. It is letting certain questions remain floating without an immediate answer. It is allowing your absence to have weight. And when you do that, your presence becomes more valuable. The human mind always magnifies what it cannot fully possess, and that awakens a desire that borders on addictive. But mystery is not built only with words or silences. It is also expressed in your behavior. The mysterious man is not impulsive, not predictable, not someone who shows the same pattern again and again. One day he can be warm and attentive. The next day, reserved and focused on his own affairs, not because he plays games, but because he lives according to his own rhythm, not according to the constant validation of others. This autonomy awakens in a woman the need to understand you, to get closer, to explore your world. And the more she tries to understand you, the more emotionally involved she becomes, without realizing that it is the lack of clarity that keeps her active. Mystery also creates a type of energy that rarely gets mentioned. The energy of I could lose him. When a man is completely predictable, a woman feels she already has him secured. But when she senses that your mind, your decisions, or your lifestyle do not revolve around her, a subtle fear arises. The fear that you could walk away at any moment. That slight fear increases her desire, because human beings always value what they could lose. This is why mystery is not coldness. It is selectivity. The mysterious man does not reveal everything, but when he chooses to reveal something, he does it with intensity, with authenticity, with absolute presence. That contrast, the balance between what is hidden and what is revealed, creates a deep emotional impact. She knows you are a difficult person to read, but at the same time, she feels that when you choose her to open a small part of your world, it is a privilege, and that privilege pulls her in even more. Besides, mystery does not only awaken attraction, it awakens competition. When a woman cannot predict you, her instinct pushes her to try harder, to stand out from the rest, to feel special in your eyes. And when a woman begins to compete internally for your attention, your perceived value skyrockets without you having to do anything extraordinary. Mystery turns an ordinary interaction into a psychological challenge. And challenges create desire because they force the mind to invest emotional energy. Mystery, according to Machiavelli, is a form of silent power. It does not shout, does not demand, does not beg. It simply exists. And its mere existence transforms the dynamic between man and woman. Where there is no mystery, there is no depth. Where there is no depth, there is no intensity. And where there is no intensity, desire dies like a flame without oxygen, which leads directly to the next reason Machiavelli understood better than anyone, the sensation of exclusivity, the idea that not everyone can access you, that your attention is a privilege reserved for a few, and that this rarity is what elevates your value in the eyes of any woman. When Machiavelli described human nature, he warned that people do not desire what is abundant, but what is scarce, not what is available to everyone, but what seems reserved for only a select few. In the intimate realm, the same thing happens. A woman feels drawn to be physically close to a man, not because he needs her, but because he chooses her, not from desperation, but from clarity, from an emotional filter so high that any gesture from him feels like a privilege. For her, that exclusivity is not just a compliment. It is a deep validation of her feminine value. It makes her feel as if she is entering a space that others have failed to reach. That feeling awakens in her a blend of pride, desire, and curiosity that constant or indiscriminate attention could never generate. Machiavelli would say that the value of something comes from the risk of losing it, and in a man's case, attraction is born from his difficult access, from his rarity, from his resistance to giving away his time and energy so easily. A woman feels a man is worth more when he does not offer himself, when he does not chase her, when he does not seem desperate for affection or recognition. That sense that she could lose him, that he does not depend on her, that his world functions with or without her, activates a primitive desire, the desire to earn his attention, to become worthy of his closeness. She wants to be the one who breaks through the defenses of a man who does not open himself to just anyone. In that way, exclusivity becomes a psychological arena where a woman does not only desire the man, she desires to be desired by him in a unique way. But exclusivity is not built with words. It is built with behavior. The man who gives himself to everyone, who seeks female validation without discernment, loses his magnetism because he becomes just another face in the crowd. On the other hand, the man who knows how to say no, who knows when to step back, who knows how to select, who knows how to guard his energy and his intimacy for what truly deserves it, radiates a mystery that seduces inevitably. It is not that he is cold. He is simply consistent with himself. It is not that he ignores women. He simply does not give his presence to anyone who has not shown genuine value. And a woman senses this instantly. That natural filtering awakens in her a deep need to become the exception he chooses. This triggers a powerful psychological phenomenon. When a woman feels that a man is hard to obtain, her mind begins to create stories, scenarios, interpretations. She starts asking herself why he does not give in. What drives him? What makes him so selective? What kind of woman could truly have a place in his life? Her imagination becomes your greatest ally. And when she feels that despite that barrier, he still offers her genuine attention, something inside her ignites. It is the emotional impact of feeling that a valuable man has recognized her individuality out of thousands. That feeling is much stronger than superficial physical attraction. It is attraction built on merit, value, and challenge. Exclusivity also has a deeper dimension. It is not only that he is not available to everyone, it is that he is not emotionally available in impulsive ways. A man who controls his need for approval, who does not panic at silence, who does not respond from anxiety, who does not collapse in uncertainty, inspires respect. And that respect slowly transforms into desire. She sees in him a man who does not lose control, a man who can lead, a man who would not be destroyed by a passing emotion. That stability, combined with his rarity, creates an explosive form of attraction. As she recognizes his self-control, his composure, his ability not to give himself away at the first opportunity, she begins to feel a sense of privilege when he finally leans toward her. Because every gesture he makes feels measured, chosen, intentional, not automatic. He is not a man who acts on impulse. He is a man who decides, and that intentional decision-making creates a direct connection to her vulnerability. Because if he decides, she feels he could decide for her, with her, or against her. And that balanced masculine power, strength mixed with sensitivity, is one of the deepest triggers of female attraction. Exclusivity does not mean coldness, it means self-worth. Machiavelli would say that a man who values himself does not need to chase. He only needs to show that he knows how to choose. And that ability to choose is exactly what a woman wants to experience. She wants to feel that her presence in a man's life is the result of a deliberate decision, not an emotional void he is trying to fill. She wants to feel that she earned him, not that he was simply available. She wants to feel like the exception who breaks through a wall of self-discipline, not woman number 10 in the life of a man who gives his attention to anyone. And this is where exclusivity becomes a bridge towards something even more powerful. The mystery that surrounds a man who never shows all his cards, who stays partially inaccessible, who keeps parts of his world out of reach, who does not reveal his intentions quickly, and who precisely because of that awakens an unconscious desire to uncover him. In the end, all these forces, silent power, emotional security, mystery and exclusivity, intertwine like invisible threads that shape female desire. None of them works alone because human desire never comes from a single stimulus. It comes from the sum of impressions a man projects without even speaking. When a man governs his inner world, when he controls his need for validation, when he does not reveal himself completely, and when he chooses, instead of begging, his presence gains a weight a woman cannot ignore. Machiavelli would have said that true attraction is not imposed, it is built. And when a man embodies this kind of strategic value, he does not need to chase, to convince, or to prove anything. His existence alone is enough to awaken in a woman not just curiosity, but desire, not just interest, but devotion. These four forces are not obvious, they are invisible, yet they govern desire today just as they did 500 years ago. And the man who masters power, security, mystery, and exclusivity does not beg, does not chase, does not convince.